really the biggest calculus for us is if we, bring players in, who does that displace and who is that taking opportunities away from? Because we really do feel like we've got an exciting young team, and we need those guys to play, and not only for this year, but as you start to think about the depth we have that's emerging from AAA, ready to contribute at the major leagues, and beneath that, like, we believe we have a great future in front of us, and we don't want to put obstacles in guys' ways. So we will continue to look at opportunities to improve the team, but we'll be deliberate in how we do it. And I would say, and I've shared this in other forums, that I don't think our, this year's payroll, that's not the limiting factor for us.
2 balls, no strikes for Franmil Reyes, who in a shortened season because of that oblique strain that knocked him out for a spell, still got to the 30 home run mark. And talking to him, Chris, he feels like, again, not putting hard numbers on it, but reading between the lines, he feels like there's 40 in there for sure for him if he can, stay healthy, stay in that lineup, and be a force.
I'd certainly agree with him. He hits the ball about as hard as anyone does. So if he can stay out there and get 550 or 600 plate appearances, that's certainly within the realm of possibility.
We just talked about 50 down here, Chris, but I wasn't supposed to tell anybody, so we'll erase that part.
Well, we knew you wouldn't then.
Hey, Andre, good to see you down there.
Good to see you too, man.
How you doing?
They usually don't let me talk till 2 outs.
Okay, yeah. I got
2
you.
strikes. 2 strikes.
I took your role last inning.
You did it well, though. That's a good way to get started. All right, Chris, and I know you kind of touched on this, but, Tito always tells us in spring training, don't get too excited about what guy does in 20 to 30 at-bats. In a shortened spring training this year, how do you play off of what guys do down here into who you take with start the season?
I don't think the approach is too dissimilar, Andre. I think we have a pretty good sense of where guys have been in the past and, where they are in their developmental path or readiness to contribute to the major league. So we'll continue to rely on that for the most part, but we will be influenced by what happens here. We won't make decisions based upon that, but it's a little bit of new information that we'll factor in.
Swing and a miss by Bobby Bradley.
And
Go ahead, Andre.
Well, you guys were talking about veterans, and most people think of guys on the field. Just thinking about in the bullpen. I know you've got a lot of young arms, but just how do you kind of go through who to use and how to use guys early in the season because of what you guys went through in the offseason?
So in terms of which roles that guys will be
Yes.
used? Yeah, so that's, again, Tito and Carl do such a masterful job of figuring out which guys to put in when and how to position them for success. And, usually as guys, start the season, they'll have conversations with them about the expected role. And then, as we've seen in the past, those can evolve based upon how things unfold. And I'm confident Tito and Carl will do that same thing. And as you said, we are a little bit less experienced in the bullpen. So I think the leadership of Brian Sweeney, our bullpen coach out in the bullpen, will be instrumental as he tries to help shape those guys into a productive and cohesive unit.
I don't know if we have time for this, but I haven't heard anything as far as arbitration stuff going on now.
Yeah,
what takes place now?
So what happens is, we can continue to negotiate with all of our arbitration eligible players, and then this coming Tuesday is the exchange date when the club submits a number and the player submits a number unless there's an agreement before then. That typically happens in January, and hearings, if there's not an agreement, are in February. Now everything's pushed back a little bit further.
Bobby Bradley down on strikes. 2 down here in the second. Third strikeout for Nick Lodolo, who has retired all 5 that he has faced, and now Bradley Zimmer. It's pretty obvious that given the truncated nature of the spring, the overall health of your club is the most important concern. What's right behind that for you as you prepare for opening day and the long season ahead?
Health continues to be number one, but I think really setting the foundation, as you said, Matt, we do have a young team, and having Tito back in the dugout leading our groups are really important for us. He does such an extraordinary job building that culture and building a team identity, and this is a great challenge, and he's embraced it and is excited about working with his group to help them continue to both develop. And then, as he says, we're not looking for guys just to come up and play at the major league level. Mm-hmm. We're looking for guys to come up and help us win. And I think that's what we'll continue to focus on.
He makes that very clear that look, yes, we want players to develop, but not at the cost of what our number one job is, and that's to win baseball.
And that's what it's about at the major league level. So again, we believe both can happen, that, you can win while developing. And we do think, the future in front of us is bright, and we want to do the best we can to accelerate that and win as many games as we can.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 down. Bradley Zimmer, along with Oscar Mercado, a very crowded race for securing the outfield jobs, flanking Miles Straw. Not a big leap of assumption to assume that, Miles is going to be your everyday guy in center field. But outside of that, somebody's got to go out and earn it this spring, don't they?
That's right. Yeah, we'll have opportunities for guys to go out and earn it. And, Brad's squarely in that mix, and Oscar also be in the fold there. And thankfully, Ahmed was, is eager to continue to develop his versatility, and then we'll see him some in the outfield as well.
Nick Lodolo strikes out the side. Chris, thanks for your time as always. Best of luck to you this year.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you. Great being with you.
Cleveland Guardians president Chris.
The MLB app to get in-game video highlights, live pitch-by-pitch, breaking news, player updates, stats, leaderboards, and much more of your Cleveland Guardians.
Tanner Tully out for a 3rd inning of work here today. TJ Friedel, the number 8 hitter for Cincinnati, leads off. Both Tully and Cincinnati starter Nick Lodolo have been pretty efficient, and they've both been awfully sharp.
Yes, they have. Breaking pitches they've mixed in and moved their fastball around the zone.
Just a bit outside.
I'll tell you what, it's and the umpires got to work too. I mean, this is, from where I'm sitting, it looks like a pretty tight zone to this far so far, but they're throwing strikes.
Three balls and a strike for Tanner Tully. Born in Indiana. Went to Elkhart Central High School. And then went to Ohio State. Ground ball to third, backing up Jose Ramirez. Throw is on the money. A little low. Bobby Bradley reaching down to grab it for out number 1.
No, he dropped it, I think. Didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he didn't come up with the pick there. He gave the short hop, and watch, it doesn't stick in the glove like it should.
Yeah. At first glance, it looked like it was going to make it there on the fly. But it did just short hop him.
Yeah, and the first day, like we said, first game, he was backing up on that play. Well, there you go, double play ball.
Rosario to Yu Chang, on to Bradley, and they turn 2. Quickly erasing the miscue.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. Get yourself an opportunity, makes a good pitch. They turn a double play. Now watch, Rosario tries to get, he knows it's a double play ball. He rushed it a little bit with it, bobbled it, but they get it easily. It's going to take a while and reps, off the fungo bats and everything before the game to get your fielding going.
Jonathan India walked his first time up. A 1-ball, 1-strike count. No score. 3rd inning here in Goodyear on a beautiful day. Temperature 79 degrees at game time. It will get up into the low to mid 80s before the afternoon is over.
Yeah, this is the beautiful weather, huh? No wind today.
Good pitch that time from Tanner Tully. Evens the count at 2-2. Swing and a miss. And I tell you what, the left-hander has been dazzling in the Cactus League opener. No score, middle of the 3rd. Trade that kind of sent shock waves, if you will, through baseball, because So many trades and so many moves have been made since the agreement was reached between the Players Association and the owners. Everybody kind of kicked it into hyper gear. But, boy, Rick, I don't think anybody expected Cincinnati to do what they did. But
you're right.
They unloaded Eugenio Suarez in that big contract, and they also had to part with Jesse Winker and able to do that with Seattle.
That's my favorite player that used to be over there, Jesse Winker.
Guy from
born in Niagara Falls.
Right there in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Brandon Williamson is interesting. 6'6", so just like today's starter, Lodolo. Big left-hander. He was the Mariners' 5th best prospect, according to Baseball America. He was originally a second-round pick just 3 years ago. And that fastball misses inside. Yeah. He's mid-90s with his fastball.
Well, and Seattle back at it again. The trader out there, GM, he loves it. They're starting to make their moves. That's why they got a couple of Cincinnati Reds. They're giving it up. And, they were right there last year at the end of the year. They have high expectations.
Yu Chang goes down swinging. 4 consecutive Cleveland batters have gone down via the strikeout. Now Oscar Mercado. Terry Francona told us that Oscar Mercado put on some weight in the offseason, the good kind, because he said he's added some muscle to the frame but hasn't lost any agility. And he said the biggest thing with Mercado is it comes down to
plate discipline.
More consistent and swinging at pitches that he can handle and not giving the pitcher the advantage by chasing bad balls.
Yeah, plate discipline. But what Mercado does a lot, a young player, he's been an everyday guy for a short stint, but never for a full year. So, sometimes he gets up and he gets too anxious. He wants to swing at everything instead of being patient, making the pitcher come to him and get yourself in hitters' counts.
Well, Rick, let me ask you this. As this pitch comes to the plate, how much of it is confidence? Because he had a confidence in his rookie year in 19 when he was hitting between Lindor and Ramirez that was off the charts.
Right.
Never had that type of situation
He
since.
got fastballs all the time. He was fed fastballs then because they weren't going to mess around, and they challenged him. Well, he got aggressive, and he didn't change his approach after he had that season like that.
And, Matt, I'll ask you this. Is this the first time you've come to camp? Uh-oh.
That ball's plugged to center, but Senzel can cover a lot of ground in an easy play for out number 2.
Is this the first time you come to camp and the guy's gained weight and it's a positive thing?
Yeah, right. Last year was Perez losing 25,
weight.
and he lost his batting average too.
I just think part of it with Oscar Mercado is if there can be such a thing, he's a guy that maybe cares too much. And what I mean by that is if you wear every at-bat after it happens and it doesn't go your way, it can beat you up, and you can't let that happen.
Well, we'll talk about it at a point in time during the season where a player, you just have to remain patient. You can't worry about, like you say, every at-bat. Just don't give any at-bats away by chasing pitches out of the zone. That's how you stay up there and you get a little more productive. Try less. Instead of try harder, you almost try less, and maybe it helps you relax a little bit more. Easier said than done, though.
That's something that both Austin Hedges and Bobby Bradley want to work on this year, and that is they both seem to be better when there were men on base, men in scoring position, and admitted to me that when they came up and the bases were empty, they just, for whatever reason, they didn't have that same mindset.
The focus. Yeah, you focus when you get somebody in scoring position because you want to drive them in. You got to maintain that focus when nobody's on. Sometimes that's why every at-bat changes. If you're the leadoff man, your job is to get on base. It's not to drive it in, or you're not trying to drive yourself in. If they make a mistake, you can. There's a job every time you go to the plate, and you got to adjust to the situation.
Miles Straw coming to the plate. Straw grounded to short his first time up.
and this is one thing that Straw has, is patience. He'll take pitches. He goes deep into counts. You know, he's going to make you throw strikes. He's going to make you as a pitcher have to get him out. Rarely will he go early into the count.
Here's Austin Hedges on the difference between batting with men in scoring position and with the bases empty.
I think in my career, I have been a better situational hitter. For whatever reason, my brain can go execute something more so than nobody on base, one out. The only thing you can do is walk or get a hit, and you're basically just trying to get a hit. But there's no win if you hit a ball out. If I line out to center field, I'm just out, and everyone's kind of high-fiving me. But if I got a guy on second, and I do that, and he gets to third, guy on second, I move him. You know, any type of thing. Runner on third, score him. Big situation. This run matters. Where
pitch in there for a strike to Miles Straw, and I think
it's different, and that's my fault. It's you know, I tend to rise to the occasion, but it's my fault for not allowing the occasion to be every at bat. And so I've done a lot of work mentally and visually to be able to execute something where the situation doesn't matter.
Kind of what you were just talking about. Sometimes you just have to.
You got to play games in your own mind.
Right. Take a plan up there and say, hey, I'm going to take this ball to right field, or I'm going to look for a pitch middle in and try to drive it, or whatever it is.
My job, let's say you're leading off an inning. My job is to get on base. I don't care what position you play or whatever. Get the rally started. You know, don't make that first out. Get on first and let's see what happens.
2 balls, 2 strikes. With 2 down and Hedges at first base, Miles Straw. You know, he's also a guy that even though he stepped right in after coming over at the trading deadline last year and played every day in center field, you forget this is his first spring here in Goodyear. And so he's learning everybody's name at the complex. He's still, you know, getting to know some of the players in the system and some of the coaches in player development. So there's still a lot of newness for Miles Straw.
Well, he transitioned beautifully, though, from last year. You know, it was seamless, to be honest with you. And it didn't seem to phase him at all. And he started thriving as they were working, where he was hitting first, Rosario was second, Ramirez, where, you know, he loved those 2 guys on the top of the order were fighting to score runs, see who could score the most. There was friendly competition. Now this year, they get back together and they get into a little groove. This guy can get on. Rosario can take pitches, let him steal. You know, they'll know each other a little bit better, even though it was only half a year last year.
Hedges running on the pitch.
Good at bat.
Line to center field. He'll stop at second. Will the Indians catcher? Miles Straw keeps the inning alive. The 2-out base hit. First hit of the game for Cleveland.
Well, another 3-2 count. He works. He sees a lot of pitches, and this time he gets one to his liking. It's a nice line drive into center field, and he stays on the baseball well. Doesn't try to pull.
Now 2 down for Ahmed Rosario. First time today that either team has had a runner in scoring position.
Pretty good slow curveball for strike 1.
Brandon Williamson had 2 outs and the base is empty before the walk to Hedges. And the hit by Straw, now foul ball by Rosario. You know, Arch, Franmil Reyes was telling me that, you know, when he was young and just kind of starting his career, he said the name that everybody heard was Ahmed Rosario, especially some of the Latin players, Dominican players. That, boy, this Ahmed Rosario, wait till he gets going. And he said, you know, he had a chance with the bets, but he said never really got really rolling. And then last year he said, this is the guy that everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
What we got to see last year was the Rosario who people were so excited about when he was a young player. And you look right there, Joe Carter, the last Cleveland player to have 6 4-hit games in the season, and that was 1986.
Yeah. He's an offensive guy. You know what? He got beat up a little bit because of his defensive skills. He's not a Gold Glove shortstop. But, you know, he's got to make some plays, and he will make some errors. But I'll tell you what, when he gets rolling, he can run like the wind and
almost kept it fair, but just foul over the bag.
I'll tell you, this lineup took off when they got here and they started to piece it together in the top 4 or 5 with Reyes up there hitting 4th and whoever they have behind them. I'll tell you what, it's a pretty good first 4 guys in this lineup. And they like to play every day. They have played every day. We lost Reyes because of the oblique pull he had, and it was something. These guys will get it rolling again.
Two down on the 0-2 pitch. High fastball. Again, as Rick said, 3 days of camp and now a game. And so, yes, these players have faced some live batting practice, but not a lot. And all of a sudden, boom, you're jumping in.
It's
go get them, Tom.
It is a little scary for your management and coaches. You got to keep these guys under wraps. But these guys, they know what they're doing. And you know what? They usually do come into shape, but it's not, they're in great shape as far as that goes, but you have to get in baseball shape, taking all your batting practice and getting your ground balls, fly balls, running the bases, whatever it takes. And it takes quite a few weeks to do that.
Just something as simple as wearing spikes for 9 innings. Got to get your feet back into baseball shape. Ground ball foul, third base side again.
Yeah, it is funny. You come out, you feel you're in good shape, and you go out and play a few innings. Where do you feel your stuff tomorrow? You'll go, oh my goodness, I didn't realize. I thought I was in pretty good shape. Baseball's a different game, boy. The short, choppy,
quick reactions,
first step, quickness. When you're on the bases or in a defensive position.
Up and away, 2-2, and boy, for game 1 of spring training, Ahmed Rosario is putting on a pretty good battle here. 2 on, 2 out. What's that first run on the board? Left-hander Brandon Williamson. Foul tip, inning over. 6 Ks on the afternoon for Cincinnati pitching. Brandon Williamson gets a pair. Young pitched last year in Cleveland. He was claimed off the waiver wire on July 26th. After he was designated for assignment by Arizona. Left-hander, born in Westlake, and grew up in the Chicagoland area. Went to TCU, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks made him a second-round pick back in 2015. He was selected right out of high school by Texas, but he passed and went to TCU. Breaking ball in there for a strike.
Now, Votto, he's a treat to watch throughout the course of the year when you watch this guy hit, gets in that batter's box. Boy, he's a great hitter with a great eye. We've seen him have some streaks against the Indians that have been unbelievable.
Yu Chang got to it, but his throw in the dirt, and Bobby Bradley unable to come up with it. Had he, Votto would have been out.
Well, right there, Chang, and it's only normal. He knows he's got a chance to get that play at first base. He might have forgot who was running Votto. He's not getting down the line a lot. He had more time to maybe get to his feet and throw it, and then this ball gets past Bradley. But, first day, you're going to see that. You're going to see that. Good effort, though, by Chang.
Here is Kyle Farmer. Fly to center first time up. The official score in game 1 of Cactus League play in a generous mood, scoring that base hit for Joey Votto.
Matt, you want to be the guy to tell Joey Votto he didn't get a hit down here in Arizona?
Sure. I'll tell him.
What do they do? I mean, with the moves they've made already, what do you expect them to do with Votto with the contract he has?
Well, yeah, you almost got to think, how does Votto feel about
Right.
the situation? Because I'm sure he had nothing to say about it.
You know, can't say that we know him
Right.
intimately the way we know our own guys, but you know, Joey Votto's, to me, has never been an I, me type
Never.
guy. He's always talked team first.
Right.
I mean, yes, does he put up his individual numbers every year? Absolutely. But I think he'd be fine. It's just at the same time, he's getting towards the end of his career where he might be like, I'd really like to be on a team that's got a chance to win.
Well, go ahead, Rick.
No, you would think so. Over 2,000 hits, you know, 331 home runs, over 1,000 ribbies. He's been there. He's proven.
Cool story about him this offseason. I remember I told you guys last year how he kind of changed some of the things he was doing at bat last year and realizing how pitchers have changed.
Right.
Hitting
I
home
remember
runs.
that, Andre.
So Matt Carpenter of the Cardinals came to him in the offseason and he said, be honest with me. Am I done or is there something that's left in me? So Matt Carpenter and Votto worked this offseason, and Votto basically put him through the same training he went through and said, you got a lot left. Do not leave this game yet. You still can compete. And that tells you a lot about Joey Votto in my eyes.
Yeah, and Carpenter's a good hitter, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked slow. He looked like he was done and old, but you can see how that can creep into your mind. But yeah, I mean, the Reds, they had a nasty offense last year. They could score on you in a hurry.
Well, you know, Andre's talking about Carpenter, and Rick, I'm thinking about Alex Young. Now, he's only 28 years old, so by no means do I bring this up because of age, but you get designated for assignment, you go unclaimed, and you end up back in Cleveland, and you're thinking, how many more opportunities will there be? And so I think he's looking at this as a big chance at this stage in his career to try to continue to pitch at the big league level. That's a nice piece of hitting by Stevenson right over the bag for a double. And the Reds now have second and third with only one out.
Yeah, gets a pitch right there, out over. It's the bat head out front. It stayed right down the line, so that'll give him second and third now with one out and a chance to get on the board.
Fouled back by Nick Senzel. You assume that with Senzel in the outfield, Tyler Naquin not in the lineup today, but you would figure he's got one of those other outfield spots. If he doesn't have it nailed down, he's got to be in big-time consideration.
Yeah,
So that leaves some young players. I mean, Aristides Aquino has showed power, has showed promise.
There's the DH in the National League this year. They've got that extra bat. The pitcher doesn't hit. That's finally they came around.
Senzel sends a high fly ball to deep center field. George Valera back. Can't make the play. It's off the wall. And coming home is Votto. Right on his heels is Stevenson. And it'll be a 2-run double for Nick Senzel. And Cincinnati takes the lead.
Hit that ball pretty well into left center field. Valera just coming into the game. It's the wall. Board with the first two.
Last year hit just 190 and a little over 200 at bats with 10 homers. Defensively now for Cleveland, standing Leon behind the plate. Richie Palacios, or rather Brian Rocchio, is now at shortstop, and George Valera is in center field. Foul, third base side.
Ball boy did a good job. Made his first catch of the spring. Get a hand. He looked like he was a little nervous, but when it went in the glove, he went and gave it to that young man there. Good job.
Aquino taking 2 balls, 2 strikes. Breaking ball misses, full count. So Alex Young unable to put Aquino away, who patiently waits about, draws a walk, and here comes Carl Willis. Rick, you watch Aquino down there at first base, and wearing that number 44, you can't help but see that uniform and not think of Eric Davis.
Right.
And for fans who may not remember, when Davis came onto the scene with the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, he looked like a game-changing type player. Fast, physical,
Do it with power.
Yeah. I mean, steal bases, play great outfield. And then I remember in the World Series, he dove for that catch in the outfield against Oakland, and he lacerated, I think it was his kidney. And it was a really serious injury. Stayed on the field and finished out that inning, but was unable to finish out the red sweep of Oakland in that World Series. But man, what a talent he
even
was.
Spent some time down here in spring training with the Reds in uniform. For spring they bring him in as they used to do with like a George Foster and things like that.
Then later in his career, I remember he was in Baltimore playing against Cleveland in the postseason. Andrew Knapp, Cincinnati catcher, takes ball 1. There is action in the Cleveland bullpen. As we often say, you hope for the best, but you've always prepared for if things don't go the way you expected. I don't know that they thought Tanner Tully would go out and give them 3 solid innings to start this game the way he did, but that should have them breathing a little sigh of relief in that dugout as far as how to navigate the rest of this game with a very young pitching staff. Robert Broom in the bullpen getting ready. Alex Young, that pitch count starting to creep up.
Well, you know how this game works. You can have some nice quick innings early, but you're going to have a few frames in a row that are going to be costly at times. Doesn't matter. First time out. They had, about 9 or 10 pitchers ready to go today. There you go.
Down swing. Second strikeout for Alex Young. 2 down. And now TJ Friedel.
Other things that are going to be interesting this year to see what happens. They haven't made decisions yet on expanded rosters. When you're with the short spring, like they did back in 20, you had, I think, a 28-man roster when you came out. Right now, it's set at 26. I would think they're going to have to make changes in just 3 weeks. And, you're only allowed, 14 pitchers on the roster? Or is it 13?
I thought it was 13.
Yeah, 13. And now you're going to have 9-inning double headers. We'll see what happens if that changes.
It sounds like, and I don't know if this is the best policy, but it sounds like there is sort of a wait and see approach to that expanded roster.
Yeah, it will be until more clubs are saying, "Hey, we
need that extra spot
or two." Right. And it doesn't have to carry on for another month or so like that, but at least to get out of this, the short spring training and
maybe the
get
first
yourself
2 weeks
on your feet.
Yeah.
Let's go for the first 2 weeks, and you may be able to extend it.
That
Who
takes
knows?
you through the end of April. So then,
I think that first month back there, you never know what you're going to get as far as weather-wise, at least back in the Midwest and the East.
2 on, 2 out, 1-2 pitch. Hopped in the air, left field. Mercado will make the catch. Cincinnati strikes first. They lead 2-0.